TV.
How are you? Oh my goodness. We have been having such an awesome time and here in the business conversations, especially because we talk about and we can be able to relate to everything that we are saying since we are literally doing it. Welcome to the business conversation right here on Clean Money TV. I'm Odipo G, kama kawaida, joined with Kanyarati and Nick Abayo. And today we want to touch on something that many people ask over and over again, that is financing. How do I finance my farming venture? How do I finance? Okay, you've talked about Rosemary, you've told us about value addition. You know, with value addition, we need 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 tools. How do I get capital to be able to get into this venture and make it successful? And that's what we're going to touch on today and even on the subsequent episodes, because what we realized is capital is something that we cannot extinguish today. When people think about capital, many times, majority of the times, almost 100% of the times, people just think about monetary capital. But what we came to realize is, and we're going to touch on 3 types of capital today. We're going to touch on monetary capital, which everyone knows. We're going to touch on social capital and then mental capital. Believe it or not, we need all these 3 in order for you to be successful in farming. And that's what we're all about today. And hopefully in the subsequent episodes, we shall see how we can be able to include some people who can be able to just guide us properly on how to raise funds for your farming business. Welcome to Business Conversation. Karibuni sana, gentlemen. Always a pleasure, always a pleasure. What has been your experience when it comes to capital? When you hear capital for farming, capital for farming, what comes to mind? What comes to play? Nick?
Easy come, easy go.
Easy come, easy go.
Simple. Yeah. It depends. When you get money with or any form of capital without a plan, you will underutilize it and you will not be able to pay back if it's debt, or you will not be able to realize the value of the capital that you have received. So at the end of the day, capital becomes, capital only works where there is a plan.
Yes.
Where there is no plan, nothing works.
Abuse is inevitable.
Thank you.
There will
because
be abnormal use.
Abnormal, and you got 10 million to buy a tractor, you spend 9 to buy a Porsche.
And you haven't paid insurance.
I'm not expecting to ever pay back anyway. Yes. So I think truly when we talk about capital, what we are saying is, in simple terms, in our understanding, most of us, it just simply means I don't have money to do what you expect me to do. Yes. But most of us, like Abayo has clearly said, most of us, even as we sit to try and arrange or try and do business, for example, what we've been talking about clearly is agriculture. Yeah. If you just want to grow something as simple as chilies, how many of us sit down, plan end to end, knowing what one I'm starting from and ending at, who's going to buy, how am I going to process them, how am I going to carry them away, what is it going to cost, with the inputs? It's a whole process. And at the end of the day, I think what we're saying is capital is so broad that it's not just money. Yes. I like the idea that without a business plan, many of us, obviously, I think I keep talking about what the Bible clearly says. My people perish for lack of knowledge.
Yes.
And that's where most of us fail.
And I'd like to pick it up from there and just start to look at mental capital. Yes. Let's look at the mental capital, because many people rush into farming with the hopes of getting monetary capital, but in the absence of mental and social capital, you have a 90% chance of failure. 99% of chance of yes, because the aspect of where you have mentioned that people perish for lack of knowledge, and even when you read the next verse, it actually says that it is not because that the knowledge is not there; it's because they have ignored the knowledge.
But it's about knowledge and get knowledge, gain understanding.
There you go. There you go. You have actually alluded to what mental capital is, because someone might ask, so what is mental? Yeah, what? So someone might ask, what is mental capital? Mental capital is actually knowledge and understanding. You can have knowledge, but in the absence of understanding, that knowledge is useless. Someone gave me a very good example. Someone told me, you can have a cancer doctor who smokes, who dies of cancer. Now, that is someone who has the knowledge of what cancer can be able to do and how smoking is tied to cancer and how it can affect your lungs. He has the knowledge, but he doesn't have the understanding that can be able to make him implement the knowledge that he has. You see? So, mental capital is the ability to not only know, but understand that which you know. How you prove that you have understood what you've known is that you can be able to explain it, first and foremost, in your own words. Secondly, you can be able to apply it. Many people say that knowledge is power, and we'll touch on that later on. And I'll show you why I disagree that knowledge is not power. And we'll look at that. So when you think about mental capital, first and foremost, mental capital is knowledge and understanding of the farming venture that you want to get into. You want to get into something, yes. Have the knowledge. In other words, have the information. Okay? And then see how you can be able to utilize that information. That's a lot of feeding. Many people, unfortunately, get into farming, especially some of us, when we started farming, we got into farming because of emotion, because of pressure. Because of something that I was taught something by, I call her Mama T. She's called Taiwo. She taught me a term called effizi. Effizi is psych zeal. What we call in Sheng Nare. So because of the hype. So we got into farming because of effizi. We didn't have facts, we didn't have research, we didn't have any data to support what we wanted to do, but it's because of the hype. And right now, during this COVID time, people have actually realized that there's quite a bit of change that can be able to get from farming. So many people are getting into farming in the absence
by change,
of
you mean
knowledge.
Money?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Very many people can get money from farming, and many people are getting into it because of the hype. There is hype. So there's an absence of knowledge and understanding. When it comes to mental capital, that is very, very important. Now, who has this mental capital? I came to realize that mental capital, everyone has. We all have a degree of mental capital. The difference comes in the time that you invest in nurturing your mental capital. Mental capital is basically a seed. It's a very simple thing. And Kanyarati, you mentioned something from the good book, and I'd like to allude to that also. One of the things that we also taught is the person who tills the vineyard will eat from its fruits. Yes. And the person, so it means it's basically the same principle where the mental capital that you have, what you have, your mental ability, that's basically a seed. We all have an ability. Anyone who's watching this right now has an ability, a mental ability that has enabled them to log in, sign in, and watch and understand what we are saying. The difference comes in how much you're willing to invest in that seed that you've planted in you so that it can be able to grow, to be able to get to a point where you can reap from it. So whichever venture you're getting into, whether you're doing rosemary, whether you're doing avocado, whether you're doing chili, it doesn't matter what you're doing. The book I'm reading right now, it's called Never Give Up by Donald Trump. And one of the things that he says that his father taught him is, try your level best to know everything about the thing that you're getting into. Just get as much information as you can. Now the other thing, how does one get to just increase your mental capacity, increase your mental power, increase your mental capital? And this is where I said that knowledge is not power. Knowledge is only power when it is implemented. For instance, right now we have bulbs and light facing us all over, and they have a power source. Okay, the power is there. The power is always there. The bulb is there. That connection is there. but it needs a switch. If you do not switch that light on, the light will be there, the bulb will be there, the power source will be there. But at the end of the day, the connection needs to be made for it to light up. Okay? It's the exact same thing. You can have as much information as you want, but in the absence of implementation, you'll have what I like calling, and this is the folly of one of the education system that we learned, like the 844 system that we did. I fault it because we had what I call a constipation of knowledge. We just know stuff. Too much. People just know stuff. But then when you ask them to implement,
That's all the problem.
it goes. Yes. Sorry, yes, you're saying?
I was going to say this. I think when we first started this whole conversations, I clearly said that we are all, especially maybe it's this generation, people of my age, or I think all of us here fall into that category. Our parents always went back to the village to farm. They had a home in the village. Walikuwa naenda kulima. That season of growing maize, they're saying, I'm going what? To till and prepare the land. Comes back. A few months later, 1 or 2 months, 1 month later, they go back again to do the planting. So we all got that kind of thing. So we have the basic knowledge of how things, we all think we are kind of farmers. I think that's the general terminology I'm trying to, we all have that's like a seed we all have, that neza kulima. Mimi ni mkulima, I can do it. And clearly what we are saying is this, that is not enough.
Yes, it's not.
Just saying that I mean mkulima, I can farm and I want to go and farm simply because your father tried to farm. But you have to understand, again, I like to look at historical. What has brought us to that point? I think that's for me, that will help you unlock what is holding our minds down. Why? Historical, yet again, I said, why did we start serious commercial farming in this country? The white man. What did he teach us? You dig here, from there to there. You pick the coffee or the other plants from tea, from here to there. You bring it to this factory. You turn this machine on. No one taught anyone. It was just what you saw and you thought. It was just, you do your part. But the whole idea, I think, something which Abayo had alluded to. You give what in front and what is on the back?
You put whatever you want to show
in front,
but the real stuff is in the back.
Yes, and that's the hidden. That's that colonial guy. That's what he did. So even when our people like my dad and many other people are taking up, it was very ego driven. I'm going to be like that Muzungu with his big coffee farm. I'm going to be like this other guy. So even when my dad took over and started running, it was very little trickle-down effect for me to understand why he did the coffee or any other thing. So first, for me to get that mental shift, even if I went to the village to pick coffee or till the land or do other things which many urbanites did not do, which I did, it is obvious that even after all that, I always looked at that farming as a punishment. I always went to the village, which was school closed, gishagi, naenda kulima. So for me, I was thinking,
it leaves a bad taste.
For you always look at it like it's the punishment of everything. He never sat down and make us understand, you know what? One, you're going to the village you're going to farm, yes. There's a reason why. This is what happened. No one taught us all these things. So sometimes I don't want to blame, but I think it's time to get the shift.
It is.
I think, gentlemen,
yes,
we need to understand one thing. The reason why we are doing this show is to actually show guys that farming is actually a business. Okay? Let's kill the mentality of making money. Okay? The problem people are having is getting into farming to make
money
and not to create a business.
Or solve an issue.
Yeah, because before you actually decide to put up your land for farming or engage in any agricultural activity, you need to answer the big why. Why am I doing it? Okay? Am I doing it because of an inferiority complex, because I want to be like them, or am I doing it because there's a problem I want to solve?
Yes.
Okay? Then, two, that business should outlive you.
Legacy.
Generational wealth again.
Yes.
Yeah.
The people who formed Coca-Cola, I doubt are alive to see the fruits.
Yeah, they're gone.
They're gone.
Yes.
Okay, but you and I still drink Coke.
Yes.
Okay, so we need to look at it that way. The moment we start answering those small questions, now we have agribusiness. The Del Monte farm that the Kiambu and the Muranga County are fighting over has been in existence for a very long time because somebody saw something that should outlive him.
Yeah, and you know, all that now is incorporated into the mental capital.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you see, understanding, like for instance, the building we are on, how they started building this structure is foundation. They started from the foundation. Okay? After the foundation, they raised the walls.
Yeah.
Then after raising the walls, they put all the furniture and the finishings that we have. This is how wisdom, knowledge, and understanding works. Understanding is the foundation. It is the basic foundation. Wisdom builds the walls, the structure, and then knowledge now fills in what we have. That's basically the system where it is. That's why we have started the conversation about raising capital with the importance of mental capital, as mental capital is the foundation. The reason why when we started we lost a few millions of shillings, which we are still paying investors to date. We lost investor money. Yes. Hey. Now, it's not even a threat when we'll put you in CRB and like, pick a number. Yeah. We're already there. Add another one to the list. And the reason as to why we are paying the investor debt that we have to date as a company is because we lacked mental capital. We got monetary capital. But in the absence of mental and social capital, we flopped. And the reason as to why we are succeeding is because we realized that monetary capital is available. And that one comes your way. But mental capital, you have to go for it. There's a man I really like called Al Nightingale, old school guy. He said that the mind is the most unexploited continent in the world. The human mind. And when it comes to mental capital, the only thing that limits you is your imagination. Yeah. Right now, especially in this day and age, who was I listening to the other day? Me. Who was saying, he was telling us how we are probably the most fortunate generation, the smartest generation. It was Steve Harvey. He was saying that we are probably the most fortunate and smartest generation that has ever existed because of the vast information available to us on the World Wide Web. And a number of the things that some of us know, especially when it comes to things like let me pick like rosemary. I didn't know we have different types of rosemary for different kinds of things. I didn't know that Tuscan blue produces better flowers. I didn't know that Gorizian produces better oil. I didn't know that Spicy Island does better for food. All that is rosemary. Yes. Oh no, and when you just look at rosemary seems to be rosemary. It's not. So when you go into specifics like that, I know exactly this is what it does. This is why I'm planting this particular thing. This is where it's going to go. This is the industry that you can be able to touch. Remember we touched on industry and sector the other time. Yeah. We talked about industry and sector. So these are the industries that I can be able to touch. All that is knowledge. All that can be able to increase my understanding. Because once you increase understanding with knowledge, your success rates now flip. You're almost 99% sure that you will succeed, And it's very important to have this mental capital, which it is fully dependent on you, because the weight of this building is probably 4 or 5 stories. The foundation determines how high it will go. Of course. So if understanding and knowledge are your foundation, it simply states that the amount of money that you want, the amount of monetary cash currency that you want, is all dependent on how steady and deep your foundation is. If you want 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 million Kenya shillings, put a foundation that can be able to sustain 7 stories. Yes. If you want it in dollars, put a foundation that can be able to sustain. One of the things I came to notice, and now from here we'll jump into monetary. Kanyarati will touch on monetary, is many people get into farming, and I like saying this over and over again. Many people like getting into farming with an agribusiness expectation, but an agricultural mindset. That is the mistake.
So they need to remove the culture from agri.
You need to remove the culture from agri. Then have an agribusiness mindset, which we are talking about, which you have mentioned. It's very important to look at the why. And then from there, your expectation will follow your mentality. It's usually not the other way around. Yeah.
As you wind up, there's something there's an example I like using. When you go to the airport, okay, you taxi first. The plane will taxi, then go to the runway and take off. Yes. Okay? The amount of energy consumed down there is so much.
So that it peaks.
So that it gains flight.
Yes.
You see, so people think it's actually up there. No.
Down here.
It's actually down here. Yes. You see, this is the place where you need to consume all your energy. So that when you're starting, you as the vision bearer, because now the plane, they'll put in the maps, this is where we are going, this is how long it's going to take, 1, 2, 3, but they'll spend more time here in the preparation. This is where they'll realize, okay, the left tire is flat. This is where you realize, okay, my soil is bad. I need to add 1, 2, 3. You see, that is the mental capital. So that the moment you're taking off, you're only dealing with very, very minor issues.
I was going to add something.
Yes.
Every time we sit and say, I want to do a business, I think there has to be a basis of that starting. Yeah. If you don't have the basics, basics means you're asking yourself the simple questions. And those simple questions are the ones that will guide you toward what is right. Let me tell you. How many of us I'll give you an example. I have a relative of mine. He has planted, this season, he planted a lot of skooma and spinach. A lot, several acres, like maybe 2-3 acres.
Wow, that's a lot.
But let me tell you, in this season, everyone else has probably done the same thing. Everyone is thinking, hey, what can I buy? What can I grow? What do I consume every day? What do I need? And that's the truth. Yeah. And you realize that that's what many of us do. They just think what is the easiest. They don't look at what is the most, what product will be most sustainable and comfortable to buy. Because we all go for the simplest things. For sure, it's called the M-Pesa mentality. Yeah. We need, and even when today he's struggling to sell, the market is tight. Yes. Yeah. The market is actually tight. Yeah. So that's a loss. So it is a loss-making venture. Unless he drives. Yet, at the end of the day, he could have asked himself, why? And that's what we are saying. Yes. What is mental strength in this? What is the capital, that mental capital? Yes. It is the why. It is the why.
You'll probably find in the area where your relative has planted skooma, spinach, and the rest, there's no one with onions.
Funny enough.
True. Or garlic. Or no, boss, just onions, things that will accompany that skooma.
The onions and the tomatoes.
Just that.
It's the same way when people are investing, heard that many people went into the chicken business, either as eggs or as meat.
Even quail.
Well, forget the quail. Quail is another story. But the thing is this, some of us will be traumatized here. But the thing is this, then the Ugandans were always producing more, and more people thought it was cheaper to import, which is true. Yes. From Uganda. So what happened? Guys got so disillusioned, they realized they can't, but simply because many of them didn't understand first why things are more cheaper in Uganda than here. 2, why the people choose to go and bring them from there. 3, why is our market not accepting the Ugandan, not accepting the local one, but picking? There are so many factors. That's the kind of capital we're asking you to look at.
Yes.
Asking yourself, so I want to do chickens, why?
Do you have the money?
It's not even about money. I think we've agreed
Tell
here.
us about the money.
We will talk about the money. We'll talk about the money. But we'll go down that road. The thing is this. Even as I start thinking that I can do chickens, there's a time which I genuinely did want to do the chickens. I traveled several chicken setups. I understood the different varieties. I understood what needs to be done and how professional, even the kind of feed, that who produces the best feed. There are people who import feed here, all the way from Mwanza. And it lands here slightly more expensive than our local, but they realize this is a better product and produces better. Who am I selling my eggs to if it's the eggs? If it's for meat, the market is wide and there's always skewed demand. I have eggs now, okay, so who's buying my eggs? That's where we all fall. But the bottom line is this. If you travel, for example, to Mombasa, there's one very big producer of eggs. He's big. He has more than 200,000 birds. But he can't satisfy during the normal season of when there's tourism happening. Forget the COVID season. He's the only one, and he still can't sustain. Eggs come from Nairobi, another country. You travel to central Kenya. The very people, everyone has a few chickens and a few eggs, but there's only maybe 2 or 3 people who have more than 30,000 eggs. Layers who that produce eggs. So you have to ask us. So now when I want to enter that business, I have to ask, why am I investing in Nairobi and not or in Kitengela? Because I think that Nairobi is the biggest consumer of eggs. That's not necessarily the truth. You just need to travel outside Nairobi to you see, it's the small things that we are now talking of finance.
There's a statement.
Yes,
there's a statement by, I think I was alive then, by one Luanda Magere.
Yes. No, you are not, but go ahead. We'll let you have that one.
Luanda Magere said one thing. The girl who does not travel will get married to the neighbor.
Yes.
Thing is, so when you don't travel, you will think it's only your area that you can satisfy.
I'll add another one. If you don't leave your mother's home, you'll only think your mother is the best cook.
Thank you.
Goodness, I know my mother can cook. My mother.
I don't think that's the competition. The thing is this.
Monetary capital.
Now.
Yes.
You know, it took me quite a while to ask myself what monetary capital is. Because at the end of the day, it's about how to increase your production and wealth to farmers. It is based on agriculture. How do we increase? Because capital on its own is just another one of the assets. Yes. The land, the knowledge, the processing, the sale, all that capital is simply one of the things will increase production and wealth for farmers. I think in relation to this product, agriculture today can really change the way we think based on the information that is available for farmers. Let me give you an example. There's a gentleman I got to know. He realized, and this is before a bit, maybe like 7, 8 years ago, he came from the US, he realized farmers were struggling to sell milk. And he asked himself, how do I help these farmers? And how do I accumulate? Then I can move. Of course, he was in the middle between the processor and the farmers. So he went to a specific, assuming it's Nyandarua. He got someone to do all the legwork and tell farmers, now, fine, this cooperative is the one that collects milk. I'm going to tie on a contract with this processor this way. What did he do? He went and said, I will pay you in advance your money. He averaged up to 70% of what you get. He paid them in advance through M-Pesa. Today, that company is a multi-million production company. I know the guy personally.
Okay, you can introduce Odipo.
Why? Yeah, we will. We will. The thing is this. He came in and created just the ability to grow themselves and more production, creating bigger wealth. Why? Because he put something as simple as wealth or resources, that can be able to buy more, animal feed, better quality grades of calves or animals, or even the seed for insemination. All that, basic things. And also, other farmers went to the extent of improving the quality of the housing for your pigs, for the cows, sorry. Because why? Many of them didn't know that you can even get a mattress. He provided, what he did, he told, of course everything is costed, but by increasing your milk capacity and being able to sell more, it means at the end of the day you have more money. But what you do when you bring, you didn't remove all the money at once. You remove only 10% every time. So can you imagine how much? They have 60% money in their money, 60% more money in their pockets than they ever had. My bottom line is this. The world population is growing.
Yes. Every day.
And they say by 2050 we'll have 9 billion people. These 9 billion people, who is going to feed them?
And they have to be fed. Because the human body knows no other substance than what comes from the soil.
Yes.
Yes.
9 billion people must be fed.
We are there to feed them.
Yet, 80% of the world population that is in farming has no source of capital or funding.
So who has this capital, Kanyarati? People ask, who are the people who have this money? Someone will say, Sawa, I have my mental capital in check. I have my knowledge. I have my understanding.
Yes.
Where do I get these dollars?
Now, first, again, do you know, we are dealing with Kenya. We should be saying, where in Kenya can I get capital? Yes. Generally speaking, what we are having is a new breed of young entrepreneurs coming into the market who want to change the way things are done. The traditional way of going to a bank banks actually need a mind shift to manage just agriculture, because it's a specialized area.
Yeah, completely.
And before even you get that loan, even just application, pay us 2%. Do you qualify? What qualifies you? Where are your books to show how efficient they are? Can they sustain? You need to pay insurance. You need to pay the lawyer.
Yeah. Collateral.
You need to pay collateral. To have collateral. It needs to be processed.
You need a business plan.
You need a business plan.
Then you need 3 months to sit and wait.
No, wait. It even gets more interesting. First you need to have run that account for 6 months minimum. And even those 6 months, they need historical information for the last 3 years. Yeah. Which farmer is even going to do it?
Letter from the chief.
So who is going to start this process? It's crazy.
I wanted a loan. There was a time I wanted a loan for one of the things we were planting. So I went to the bank I was banking with, and they told me, hey, we cannot give you a loan because what you're requesting, we are not really conversant with this. Farming is a too high risk thing.
It's such a risk.
It's too high risk, So I went and opened I was mad. I went and opened an account with another bank, thinking that it would be better. So this bank asked for that historical data. So I told them, can I give historical data of my previous
bank?
Yes. The hassle it was to just get the data from this bank to this other bank. It was too much, because this one bank doesn't want to lose you as a client, but don't want to give you the money that you want. This other one cannot give you the money that you want without the data, and it's just it's
another
a mess.
thing about agriculture. It is not, unfortunately, like you are saying, I plant skooma, and I think that's how in 3 months, 2 months, yes. You have your skooma and you're eating.
In 90 days.
That's the mentality many of us look at. They want short term, and agriculture is not short term. No. We've agreed here first. It has to be, for you to be it must outlive you, and generational. Yeah. If it's not generational, you're wasting, it's going to collapse like all these farmers around Kiambu and around Nairobi who had thousands of acres. All of them now are being converted to what? Property, apartments, live in apartments, farms where there's housing, concrete jungles. Why? It was never passed down to the generations. And that's where the challenge is. Because also, even as you look at this thing, climate change is real. And agriculture has so many uncertainties. Yeah. Unless you're willing to do this long term and learn the process over the years, you cannot learn in 1 season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons. No, you could have good rainfall for 3 years. And then you have 2 miserable years. What do you do? Yes. Even by the end of the first year, so first, there are all these things like part of that is also that insurance. What can help me overcome those challenges? Also learning that money that is based, there are people who are, they are angel investors, they are venture capitalists, there are, there's an institution called the European Investment Bank. Is actually putting money in equity for people to come and collect. But you go and try and collect that money, which you've had, is there. Because the terms and the conditions for borrowing are the same. But they say we have put the money there. But how is it trickling down to? Not even the youth fund is there. Uwezo fund is there. All these are brought down to as a way of creating wealth for young generation. But when you even go and borrow for agriculture, there's a special thinking. Hey, this is high risk. But
one of the things I have been taught over and over again, and I've come to experience, that there are 4 places you can be able to get monetary capital. They say family, friends, fools, and financial institutions.
Wait. By the way, do you know what? I was going to go down that road. Yes. You have mentioned them all. But the first one, most of us start with who? Friends and who? Family. And family. Yes. But today, even those who agriculture, they are afraid.
They're afraid.
You ask your dad today, or your father, or your mother, I need to invest in agriculture. That's the closest. Yes. Or your brother.
The question they'll ask.
Who are you selling to? Nauzia nani?
Yes. And then it's also what you've mentioned, Kanyarati, about the mentality that we have of farming is agriculture, not agribusiness.
No.
And then that's why, you see, for instance, one of the things that I was challenged is when you're thinking about raising monetary capital, ask yourself, would you invest in that venture? If you are seated on the other side and someone is coming, personally right now, I would invest in our venture.
Because of, you failed once?
Yeah, once.
Okay. I mean, I was trying to make guys know that you're not a complete failure.
we have failed many.
You have experience in failing.
Yes, we have a PhD.
But look at where you are now.
Yes, we have a PhD in failing, you know, and then we have managed to solidify our first of all, we focused heavily on our mental capital, our social capital, so that when the monetary capital comes, it has a good foundation. Yes. Before we get to social capital, Kanyarati, finish up on the monetary.
You see, monetary is so vast. It's too much, because if you look at all the things that will be required to access that capital, it is so broken in terms of people don't understand it. Even I struggled to understand it. I'll give you an example. In the early 90s, after university, around 93, 94, I decided to do maize. Some Ethiopian lady I was doing some work for them. She wanted to do yogurt. In fact, her yogurt was what you call the first person to produce set yogurt. Thick. It's not, you have to actually eat it with a spoon. Now, she told me we need maize can. So in my hurry, I thought. I put some little money together. I went all the way to Isabania and all the way into Tanzania to collect. And would collect, and who do you sell it to? You take it to the same NC, National Cereals and Produce Board. Yeah. Of course, the process of pay, you have to bribe and everything. I did it several times. I even went to Mount Elgon area, an area called Matisi in Kitale, collecting maize. And you deliver. Well, eventually you get paid. There's a time it took long and I borrowed money. You know, I had a truck and I had to sell it. It was picked up as collateral. Why? They don't understand that there are seasons. Yes. They cannot understand that you lose money even along the way. So the other thing is this. The best source of money is knowledge. Knowledge coming from knowing that you can get money if you start it. The best way to get money is start small. Don't go and do an acre even. Start with 1/8 of an acre. See how it treats you. So that you put in as little as possible. I'm going somewhere with this. It's all about the money. We are chasing the money.
Yes.
Start with the 1/8.
We are following you in your journey.
Grow the 1/8 and see how it treats you. Yes. Because many of us want to think hundreds or thousands of acres or even 10 acres. Niko na eka 5, naenda unaeka maize. You realize you have no one to sell to that maize. Today, farmers in the Rift don't have anyone to sell to. And why they are struggling. In fact, I think if they had a choice, they should take it to Uganda. But even Uganda won't buy them. It's too expensive. Yes. So our challenge is that first, we don't understand that if we don't start with small numbers, where I can afford to do just 1/8 and ask myself, what am I growing? Does it work? The capital will never come to you. Because with that experience, you can use that with good bookkeeping and understand. You can actually approach an institution and tell them, you know what, I've done an 8. For the last 2-3 seasons, this is what it has produced. It has given me, this is the bottom line. It gives me this ton of profits. Then now you can approach my brother, your family. Yes. You can approach an institution. There are institutions like AFC, truly, that are available to give, but they need paperwork. In short, what I'm saying is this: you will not access funding without a basis of financial knowledge. Financial knowledge coming from the information you create with your bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is saying, where did I start? This land value is this much. My seedlings cost this. Tilling the land cost this much. Chemical application cost this much. My labor cost this much. At the end, my harvesting cost this much. The carrying, if I choose to harvest and deliver to the market, cost this much. It was bought at this much. This is what it cost, and this is the profits margin. And you show consistency. Without that, it's a lost cause.
One of the people I really admire.
Have you got where I'm trying to tell you?
I have, and you've mentioned something. There's a great man I follow called Vusi Tembekwayo. He said about, he told entrepreneurs that you need to know your numbers to the decimal. Know your numbers. What Kanyarati is mentioning, just know your numbers. Yeah, don't speculate. Don't speculate. Just know your numbers. Sit down and know that, by the way, this particular crop can be able to produce this much, and it will cost me this much to actually cultivate to maturity one crop. Yes. And I have X number of crops. We even told, I believe it's in Proverbs, it says that be diligent to know be diligent and consistent to know the life and to understand how your flock is. Basically, a wise person is the person who knows and understands what they are into, what they are doing to the T. Otherwise, if you just go speculating, you'll fail.
Now, another thing which you need to look at with agriculture, especially because one of the biggest things outside is subsidies. We don't have that facility here.
Subsidies?
Yes. Subsidies is when they guarantee you a price for either maize or, like in the US and Europe, milk is very big, wheat is very big, products which run the world. They know their cost of production is higher than the world price. So what the government does is says, we are going to pay you this price. If you don't get it, the difference will pay you. So you go ahead and plant, even when you'll not. But that facility is not here. So there are no pub subsidies. Even sometimes they say, we'll subsidize the fertilizer, we'll subsidize seedlings, we'll subsidize farm equipment. But there's a country in Africa that's trying that process, Uganda. And you can see even their cost of production when it comes to agriculture is very low. Yes. And it's working. There's a time Malawi, in the same, said, we are going to supply seedlings and subsidize for maize farming. They had a bumper harvest and it grew. In short, what I'm saying is, if you have government support with good policies, the money will flow to the sector. The government policies that run this country in agriculture are now starting to turn around. There's a big change in that sector. The money is starting to flow. Even now with COVID, there are some facilities for farmers which are there in the market. Mm-hmm. Now, you see, understanding mental capital means that your money, if you seek the money and you have the right idea and you have the right information, you will go places. There's no way you're going to come and ask a startup, I want to grow 100 acres of rosemary, for example, or avocado. They say, fine, go ahead and no, I don't have money. Can you help me? There's no person like that. So let's start from that point. That you must start yourself with the left little you have. And that's why I'm insisting, start with 1/8 and understand the line of business. Now, there are many, you see, there's also startup costs, which can be high. But unless you're willing to put your money into it, all that goes round in circle. It will not come back to you. There's also lack of instruments and understanding in the market, which comes to constrain all of us. Like I was saying, you go to a bank, you go to an institution, unless like AFC who know agriculture. So they have guys who do, agricultural economists who sit there and listen. Most banks, they have these guys who their work is just the financial gurus.
Prove loans.
Paperwork gurus, and they don't understand agriculture. They've never practiced. So even talking to him, he'll sit and listen and tell you, yes, I hear you, but it's not our main line of business. It's not our core business, but maybe you can try so and so. One of the biggest lacking is that information out from institutions that can support us. The government has a big role to play. Secondly, we have there's a big difference between the investment in terms of the application process. It's cumbersome. Then you have people who are willing to buy your product. Some even pay you a small advance. But when it comes to the final price, it's squeezed. I'll give you an example. Like my guy of milk, of course he had to squeeze them a bit on the price, but he made their price consistent. There are people like that today in the market who are willing to put in some money in the long term. There are some people who will buy at farm gate cash. This is your milk, this is your coffee, this is your skuma wiki, this is your, they pay you cash. Of course, they're telling you, if kama utaki nayo, this is the price we're offering you. And people end up picking a price which is totally unacceptable. But let me tell you something. There are so many other things. When you look at that capital, it has to go further. Don't look at the money that's coming just in your pocket. Look at it. That's why I'm saying it's long term. The roads need to be in good condition.
Infrastructure.
You must supply water if you're going to do irrigation. You must provide power if there's any kind of processing that's going to be done. So all that is part of the capital that we are looking at in the agricultural sector. And that's why I'm saying the government plays a big role. But you know what? There's a lot that needs to be looked at. If we look at there are policies that must be changed first. There's the insurance part that we must change mental. There's social things. All those things need to come together for the capital to come
to actually to work. In fact, with monetary capital, we can't even finish. One of the things that I like looking at, you've mentioned something very important in terms of when you're guaranteed a price, you can even play with something called futures. You know, that one we'll talk about later on in terms of futures. Now, how I look at monetary capital, I usually like saying, treat monetary capital exactly like the seed you're going to plant in the field. Okay? Don't treat it like cereal. You know, cereals you eat, seeds you plant. And before you plant, you need to look at the soil, look at the climatic conditions, look at the history. Do the same with your money, and it will grow. Abayo, social capital.
So, don't bring an accountant to work in a farm. That guy knows nothing.
It's a square peg in a round hole.
Thank you. Whatever you said, I don't know if it makes sense. Yeah, because if you don't have the right people down there, there's nothing you're going to do. Yes. You will just flop.
So how does someone get the right people? How does someone get the right people in your corner?
Thing is, the right people in your corner, even a bank is the right person in your corner.
Can't be the right person.
Your uncle, your brother, that guy you think has money, these are the right people in your corner. Okay? Because social capital is basically about who do you know. Okay? When it comes to now the work itself, we have, I tell guys the agricultural blueprint of this country is the best blueprint. We have universities that train agronomists. Go find one. Employ them in your farm. Remember, we are looking at this generationally.
Yes.
We're not looking at today, tomorrow, you're out. Okay? If it was that, you would have traded in shares. You see, we're looking at a situation whereby you want to be with this guy for the next 20 years. Okay? So get the right person. This guy will be able, because he's professionally trained. Let me put it this way. If you're sick, where do you go? You go to a hospital because the hospital has invested in the right people.
Yes. Who can be able to solve your
who can be able to solve your challenge. Okay, now flip it. You want to eat good, supply good quality food. Why not invest in the right people?
Yes.
I'll tell you an example. Not too long ago, I think I posted in our group saying I wanted what? Greenhouses.
Yeah.
I was given a number. I called the gentleman. Yes, yeah, of course. He says, yes, I can give you. He gave me examples of what type and how he can do it. But he never, ever gave me the price directly. He told me, why do you need... You see, he was getting to me. Why do you need a greenhouse? I want greenhouses. I want to do strawberries, for example. Yes. And he said, okay, that's fine. Okay, so you want to do strawberries. Do you have I told him, I'm in the process of doing my research. This is part of the process. Then he told me so many other things. At the end of of it all, he told me, you know what? I would like to help you. But what we need most is knowledge and understanding about greenhouse farming.
Yes.
1. 2, he told me, we can do a model plan for you so that in the end we can do a business plan. Imagine, all I wanted was greenhouse. We can do a business plan. We can ensure you have the right seeds. We can also go as far as ensuring you have the market. Yes. Also, we'll ensure that you don't just pick a product, but pick a product that we can almost guarantee you a person to buy.
You see?
Now, that's what, in the end, now he's my buddy. He writes to me occasionally and tells me, are you okay? Have you seen the document I sent you yet? What do you think about it? I know, are you ready? He's building rapport. Yes. That's social
capital. That's the guy at your corner.
Yes.
Because this guy will be able to know when you're failing.
And biggest of all, he said, I can give you credit on some farm inputs.
You see?
That's the kind of person we'll need out to have.
How many people like that? But you need to say, and he said, he's key. You must do 4 days of intense training at our institution in agriculture.
Those are the kind of people that we will bring.
I guys understand. You understand.
To just break down the importance of
That's
capital.
what the social capital I think you're trying to bring out.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. For everything you want to do, there's somebody who's done.
Basically, there's nothing new under
there's nothing new under the sun. So try find who has done this, what are the key lessons, how is it not to do it, and you'll be able to form a success story.
Wow, that one we'll have to pick it up from there because I'm seeing that we are totally out of time. Now, when it comes to financing your farming venture, get to understand that you not only need monetary capital, you need social capital and also mental capital. You need all these three, not just two or one of them in order to be successful. Some of us missed out on 2 of them and we ended up in losses that we are paying to date. So for you, it is better for you to learn from the experiences of those who have failed than for you to insist on learning on your own experience. You are not the fool. Join us next time in a business conversation, Agribusiness on Clean Money TV. This is Odipo signing out with Kanyarati and Abayo. God bless you.